you might not have anything.
This is quality content. I'm just gonna have Muddy riff for a little while.
Tell us about the ClickFunnels. Tell us about your life. How's God
Yeah,
really?
well,
Gonna
I'm happy to, and I I love I love Avio, and I love that I get to work with it with a lot of different clients because I get to use. It's not just me doing the same event over and over and over again. So I get to use it with different clients. In some cases, we're using different features, and in almost every case, we're using it with a different registration and communication system, right? So I know we have in beta, we have marketplace and broadcast that we can do from within Obvio. And I certainly have some clients, especially clients that don't have an existing email list that they're working from, an existing CRM system, that we can do those things right inside of Obvio, which is amazing. And that's an amazing feature set to be able to have. But I also have clients that have a larger list or a pre-existing CRM that have their own systems for registration. So it may be a ClickFunnels funnel for registration, or it may be high level for registration, or some combination of different things. Like I had a client using Eventbrite for registration. It's like, okay, well, from and then communication as well. So different CRM or email tools. And when I talk with someone about getting their system set up, we want Avio, a communication system, and a registration system all working together so that when someone registers, they become a contact in the communication system, but they also become an attendee in Avio. And if we're going to be using an external communication system, we want to make sure for the best experience that we can get their magic link, their login URL, also sent over to the communication system so that when they're sending reminders, those reminders can say, hey, here's your magic link to get on the dashboard, which really just makes that experience really seamless for them it logs them right in and brings them right to the dashboard. So with Avio, there are 7 email or CRM systems that have native integrations with Avio. And then there's Zapier as well, which is kind of a catch-all that can plug systems together. So High Level, for instance, is one of those systems. I'm working with a client who has High Level right now. And most of the way that these integrations work, you either create a tag in the CRM and tell Avio what that tag is, or in the case of High Level, Avio actually creates the tag that you need to use, but there's a certain tag, and the CRM systems are looking for that tag, and anyone who has that tag is then brought into Avio as an attendee. Hey, Justin. And likewise, with the native integrations, Avio will also send back that login URL. And all you really need to do in that CRM system is have a place for that to come in. You create a field, a custom field, or a contact attribute. They sometimes have different names in the different systems, but essentially you create a place like first name, last name, email. You're creating that custom field for that login URL to go back to. So I have a client right now who is using ClickFunnels 2.0, and ClickFunnels 2.0, ClickFunnels 1.0 was really kind of optimized just for that sales funnel process, but it wasn't really a full-featured CRM system as well. So people often use that in combination with something else, Infusionsoft or Keep or something like that. But with ClickFunnels 2.0, they're really trying to build out the rest of that functionality. So they've got email, a CRM kind of built into that. And in order to get ClickFunnels 2.0 working, so normally, so it's not, ClickFunnels 2.0 is not one of the native integrations. It is a third, so we need to use Zapier. And the way Zapier works is you have a trigger and an action. And you can have more than one action, but in many cases, the trigger is something that happens in the CRM. Person is added, and then the trigger or the action is then that you create an attendee in Obvio. So you plug these two systems together. So in ClickFunnels 2.0, as I'm searching through the triggers, most of the systems that use Zapier, and what I like to do is the trigger is when a tag is added to a contact. So I can add a specific tag, event tag, and as soon as I add it to a contact, that becomes the trigger that fires off this action. In this case, create an attendee in Obvio. Adding a tag to a contact is not one of the available actions, not one of the available triggers in ClickFunnels 2.0. So ClickFunnels 2.0 has kind of a fairly basic set of initial triggers, but then it has this whole suite of advanced triggers that you can use that you have to go into ClickFunnels and create essentially endpoints for that. So to get towards the conclusion of this little story here is that you can create a webhook as you can use a webhook. So when something happens in ClickFunnels, it can fire a webhook. That's one of the things you can set up when you go under the hood into the settings section of ClickFunnels. Webhooks is one of the options, and you can go in there and create these webhook endpoints. So Zapier will allow you to create a webhook. It will give you the URL to use as the webhook, and then you can put that into ClickFunnels. Now, I still didn't figure out an exact way to say when a tag is applied, fire this. So I had to use a little bit of a workaround, which is when an order form is completed or when a product is purchased or one of those other actions. But when a form is completed, then fire off this webhook. And then Zapier catches that webhook, and the action is then create an attendee in Obvio, and then update a record in ClickFunnels with the login URL. So ultimately, it's working well, but it was a little bit to get set up. And it appears in the API documentation that there is an action that when a tag is applied, it can fire a webhook. But in the dialogue, there's no way to tell it that I've found, no way to tell it what tag that is. It's not one of the contents, not one of the kind of, you can tell it what funnel it's part of, what page it's part of, what product it is, but you can't tell it what tag it is.
Then it's
or at
just
least I
every
haven't found it
time
yet.
any tag is applied is right.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
send.
So
then you could put a filter on Zapier, but that's not a particularly efficient way of doing it. Like I can't remember whether that would be an action in Zapier as well, right? So
yeah, but I did. There is one last part of this which actually helped things really smooth out, because we already had 10 people registered for the event. So the time that they completed their order is in the past. So I can set up this Zap, but those 10 people are already passed, right? They haven't. So the other thing that you're able to do, and this actually helped me a lot, is you can create an automation where one of the steps in the automation is fire a webhook. So I just selected the 10 people that already purchased a ticket and dropped them into the automation, and it sent the webhook on their behalf, and they all came into Obvio, and the login links all came back. So that all worked pretty well. So actually, probably what I would do in the future is just do that same setup, but for the webhook, I would just have that as one of the steps in the automation after they purchase, apply a tag, fire this webhook, and then send them a confirmation email. So a little bit involved, but ultimately it saves having to do this manually, because all of what we're talking about is an automated way to get someone who registers into Obvio and get their link into a CRM system so you can send reminders. And again, going back to what I started with, is all that can be done right within Obvio, which is amazing. And the last thing is, all that can be done manually. You can download and, you can bring people into Obvio, just kind of importing them as well. But the advantage of setting up an automation like this means that people that purchase a ticket right before the event don't get missed. They still come in and kind of get that full experience. And that's what we want to make sure is happening. So thanks for letting me share some recent learnings.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Muddy. Yeah, I would imagine at some point we will look at doing a direct integration, depending on how what they have made available in the API, which will be very similar to what Zapier has access to. And so hopefully we can build out something that's a bit easier than jumping through all those hoops, but we'll see. Hello. Oh, you go.
I have one other kind of best practice or question, and love to get your insights and others' insights as well. So I mentioned these automation processes. When someone purchases, then something can happen in the CRM system. And what I have found is that my preferred way of doing this is really a two-part process. That when someone purchases an order, we have an automation that's set up that then applies a tag to that person. But then a completely separate automation that says anyone who has that tag then gets a confirmation email that says you're registered and whatever else. You can send them to Obvio, do all these things. But the point of separating these two is, I have found in almost every event, there are times when you want to invite people to the event that didn't come through the normal purchase process, right? You want to have a friend come to the event. Well, if you only have this process set up, then the only way to get them into that funnel, into that process, is that they complete the order form. But using these two separate funnels or two separate automations, all I have to do is add that event tag to a contact, and that will trigger this second process where it kind of brings them in. And so I'd be interested if that's a best practice that others have used, or how you deal with that situation of inviting people that haven't come through kind of the normal purchase process.
Yeah, because you want them to have the email notifications and everything coming from the CRM, not just from Obvio. Because of course you could create it all that you could add those people just to Obvio and not back to the CRM. But I get the advantage in wanting to have all of your data in one place, and you can see here's all the people that either went through the order process themselves or that I manually added them to, and have that data all in the CRM. That makes a lot of sense. So being able to jump in and do half of the automation process makes sense too. So yeah. Justin, have you had experience with that? Well, I know you have, but as far as that sort of jumping people in halfway through the process, or that are haven't gone through the standard process. Oh, you're second.
Can't hear you
there somewhere. Yeah.
Let's try now.
There we go. That'll work.
There we go. So I have done both ways. It just depends on kind of what the order form one is. Sometimes it's like a congratulations and a receipt. For those ones, definitely split them out, because the ones you just tag without it, you don't want them to get a blank receipt. But I've got other events where it doesn't really have a receipt kind of in there. It's just a congratulations for the event. And if that's the case, then I'll just make it one. But we always have the same process. Some way to get people in that you tag.
Yeah, it seems like tags are the way to go.
Yeah, tags or list. It just depends on the system. Some don't play well with tags and Zapier and integration. Some play really well with tags. But some way to put them into some kind of a segment that says, you're supposed to be at the event. Please go and put me in Obvio.
Right. Yep. It's interesting. I mean, we talk about automation steps a lot, and I mean, it really, anything that can be, you know, those manual sort of repeatable processes that you have to do, when you can support particularly smaller teams or solo operators with automated systems, it really is a dream. You know, it was one of the things that we added when we had broadcasts. We added broadcasts, and we're like, broadcast is amazing. You know, we really love that. But what about when you just need to send off that email really quickly? You added someone to Obvio directly, and now you have to schedule you know, a broadcast to go out for just that one person. Which is why we added the welcome, you know, the welcome email, and so which is very handy for that. You know, in the example of what Muddy's talking about with adding an extra person last minute, or, you know, complimentary people. If you were doing that without a CRM, you can totally do it in Obvio, where you can go into that welcome broadcast, welcome message, and then set that up that they've got their token in there. And as soon as that attendee is created, then that welcome email is triggered off. And so that's a nice one too. That sort of saves that. And so yeah, you can spend a lot of time trying to get automations going, but what you're doing is you're shifting the load from your event, you know, day or week, and moving it, you know, before. And so now you have all those systems in place, and hopefully you're just monitoring those systems to make sure they're all working. So oh yeah, Jason, buddy, just talking about that. Yeah, the ClickFunnels 2.0 process, and using Zapier and a bunch of hoops to jump through to make it all work, but it is possible. And we'll talk about more about building out an integration for that directly at some point. So that's on the list. So welcome to the few others that have joined us. There's you haven't missed a lot. We've just been talking about the ClickFunnels and things. But you can ask questions in the normal way on the dashboard there. There's a ask a question button. And as a reminder, you know, any questions are fair game, as in things about Obvio. You're like, oh, how do I do this seemingly basic thing, but I can't see it in front of me? Or as particularly when we start talking about integrations with CRMs, it tends to get pretty advanced very quick. So, but any one of those, anywhere in between is fine as well. And so then often we're talking about events in general, and, you know, if you want some ideas about how to do something in your event, we can throw that around as well. And then often we're talking about production gear and microphones and cameras and bits and pieces like that you can get a few of us talking about for some time. So I'm reminded too that we had a query this week about captions in breakout rooms, and I'd like to do a test at some point while I have some people around. So it's important. I mean, obviously Zoom is committed to accessibility throughout their system, and I want to make sure that we're supporting that as well. And so for people that are hearing impaired, I don't know what the term is. Impairment is not a great term anymore. That's what I'm trying to work.
No, that's actually the term they use now.
Hearing
As
impaired?
someone who is extremely involved with the disability community, where I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Yes,
Okay.
here, there's a huge, gigantic deaf school in
Okay.
Santa Fe. Here I
Okay,
am.
great. I heard something different, but that's cool. So
It
anyway,
sometimes depends on the person, sometimes, but
right.
in general.
Yeah, cool. So the query was that going from a main room into the breakout room, that the captions stopped and weren't able to be started again. And that has not been my experience. And so I'd love to test that today. We can do that a little bit later. Heather fighting the kitten. I have heard about cats. One thing is that they talk about like cats going on your keyboard all the time, and they think it's like it's warm or whatever. But I've also heard it's more of a dominance thing, and that it's about the thing that you're giving attention to the most, and so it then becomes it's like no, this is mine. So you wait till it starts peeing all over your keyboard, then you'll know all about it.
So excited. I'm already scratched everywhere. So don't mind me if I start making random faces as a cat tries to claw at my leg.
It's a climbing pole. Nice. Okay, so we might have a question, Heather. Is that right?
Yeah. Jeffrey wanted to know, how do you add a video to the dashboard, if it has to be a URL source or if it can be a downloaded video?
Okay, good. I can do a little demo of that. Let me see if I can push that away. I'll get something going here where I can give you a little demo of how we do videos. So the thing that happens with videos, or really, you can embed, because you can do HTML in a blog post. There's a lot that you can embed. So, for example, other things other than videos, like Slido, was something that we used a little bit a few years ago, and putting, which is a question management system thing. And we used to be able to embed that into the dashboard. It's kind of the same process that you would do for some video hosting providers. I'm already on the right one here. Let me go to the dashboard. I'm just going to use the dashboard the event that we're all in at the moment. And I'm going to share. Here it comes. There we go. Looks like I planned it that way. All right. So you can see I've got a playlist is what that is from a YouTube playlist. But if we were to see my screen here a little, let's get a video. Now, if you're using videos from YouTube, Vimeo, or Wistia, the key kind of video hosting that we have set up, an automatic sort of embedding option for you. And so I'm just going to get a YouTube video here. So you can see I've literally just gone and got a YouTube video link, just the link to it. I haven't done anything special there. And in here we have a video. So insert media. And now if I just put that link in the YouTube, that goes ahead and creates a custom embed option for that video. So my post, you can see that there now. And what you'll find is that will be responsive to the window size. If if we were going down to mobile, or going to a large 4K screen, depending on how you've got your dashboard set, it will take up all of that space. So that will work for Vimeo as well. It'll do the same thing. And I use Vimeo a lot for events. It's quite a cost-effective hosting solution that gives you the ability to lock down where those videos can be viewed, and that they're not shown when someone goes to vimeo.com and can see a bunch of public videos. You can turn that off and make sure that it can't be seen, so that the only place to be able to see your video is on Vimeo. Is in Obvio, right? So that you've locked down how that can be seen. Now, Wistia is the same type of thing. Wistia is more expensive, but has a lot more data that it's collecting and analytics for hosting videos. So it depends on where you're hosting them. YouTube, you can do it as well. I mean, it's completely free, and you can embed them and you can make them unlisted. So that can work fine. Technically, it can be very easily shared and can be kind of not quite stumbled across, but kind of, right? Because it's not secure, it's obscure. And so it's just a link that you could go to. Whereas some of those other options are really locking it down that you can only view it when it's on a particular domain name. Now, everyone knows that there's always ways around security, and so there's different systems you can get for ripping videos and things like that. But that's not what you asked. You asked about embedding video. So that's one way of doing it when it goes to YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia. When you have a system outside of that, that's a little bit different. Let's have a look at this particular video and say, let me pull this up a little bit. What we want to do is get an embed code, right? And so you can see here there's an embed code. Now, this particular one is not responsive. So what it's doing is it's saying, it's just decided that the size is going to be, I think you've actually, no, it hasn't, not there anymore. The width and the height are set at these pixel values. So it will work. Let's show how that works. When we go back here, I'm going to remove that, and I'm now going to put in, what am I thinking? HTML. So now it brings in a HTML code block, and now you can paste that code in that I just got. Okay, save that. And now you can see that it's embedded the video, but it has embedded it at 560. And so now that won't change, and on mobile it's not as responsive. So the trick a little bit with that, and it will depend on where you're copying your video from. For example, with Vimeo, the embed link that you get is responsive, or at least you have the option for it. So I'll show you that as an example. Find a appropriate video. And then I can show you just what that looks like as a difference. It's coming. Gotta find a video that I can share. Here we go. All right. So this is me logged into my Vimeo account. And now when I go to share this embed, it's giving me an embed code that is doing a bit of fancy work that's based on percentages, not pixel values, right? And so if I copy that and go back to here, And I'm going to switch out that embed code for, it happens to be Vimeo, but it could be any video hosting platform that has an embed code that I think I've got my privacy settings set such that it isn't allowing it to embed like that. But you can see that it is taking up the full width. So that's how embeds work. You've got those two options depending on where it's coming from. And just while
which is the drop down that you're putting that embed code in right now?
Yeah, so I'll show you again. I'll just add that. The one is HTML, insert HTML, which is the
Right.
code. So that
got that.
That's raw HTML code there, right? And then if you're some people are interested, I did a combination. I think I might have done a combination here where I took the Vimeo embed code, and then I switched out this address for the playlist that I have, a YouTube playlist, and so you can see that the address is slightly different, and that's how I was able to get a playlist in here. I really like it, right? Because there's 78 videos there, and even today's. So as soon as I start live streaming, I add that to the playlist, and then know that that playlist is going to appear on the dashboard. And I know some people, and I've done this as well for some events where there was one event I did 12 workshops, concurrent workshops, and what I needed is they had multiple sessions per workshop. So I created a playlist for each one. And a playlist for each workshop, and then embedded that on the dashboard, and that's how people could access the recordings as a little playlist of each one. So anyway, there's quite a bit more there than you asked, but hopefully that's helpful.
Great. So with a playlist, it's kind of unlimited in terms of the number of the videos that they could access, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and each platform has some sort of playlist option. It may not be called playlists. Sometimes they're showcases or something like that. In Vimeo, there's a few different names for it, but the concept's the same.
Right. And then how did you access that playlist? Would you just kind of click on the screen? I didn't quite catch that for that playlist. What did you do?
As in, how does
how do you see it? How do you see it? How does the viewer see that playlist?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the dashboard that you came through for this event, this is what it's sitting on. You'll see exactly that's how it looks. And so when you hit play, it's playing it's playing you.
Yeah.
It's showing the latest video that is in that playlist, and then when I hit here, I can go back to previous videos in that list, and that's how people experience it.
Okay, so that was on the upper right-hand side where those three lines are?
There.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Got that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
and that sidebar that you have on there with the Q&A calls, is that when you click on the video, or is that
no?
That's just there.
No, so that is just an agenda. So that's an agenda here. See that? And this is nothing to do with videos. Yep. This is just an agenda in the sidebar in Obvio Classic template. And so this is when you can add specific items. And generally we're talking about the days, like rather than a full rundown of every session and topic and things like that. It's more so like start and end times, or just start times, or that sort of thing, or when lunch is about to be, things like that. So The nice thing is that is automatically calculating the time zone, and so you can see that it's showing me in Australian Central Time. But for you, it will be in your time zone, and so that's why you can customize what this says, but it's really trying to make it clear that it's showing it in your time zone. That's particularly handy for events where you're hopefully getting people from all sorts of time zones and countries potentially, to just have that reassurance of exactly what time does it start, and that's when also having a countdown is nice too, right? So it's just super clear that no matter what time zone you're in, 2 hours time is 2 hours time. If it's starting in 1 hour, it's starting in 1 hour, no matter what time your clock says. So that's why countdowns are helpful. So
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. No worries. All right. Did I talk for long enough to get some more questions, Heather? Nope.
Yeah.
No.
No, sorry.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. This is good. We had a long run where 2 hours was not enough. Muddy knows about that, has experienced that. Whereas now we're getting, maybe it's time of year as well, but we're getting to a point where people are not needing it as much. Well, while there's a few people, if people are game, I'd love to just try this captions thing. So I've just turned on captions for myself. And so others, if you could click to turn on captions and confirm that that's working. Great. And now we will have, I just want to make sure that when we go into the breakouts, I might just send a few of you without a co-host or the host, and just see that, to just make sure. I want to be sure that it doesn't matter if there's a host or co-host in there. My experience when I was doing some testing was that it stayed working and you didn't have to do anything, but the report was that it stopped working. So I'm going to create. I'll show you just as a matter of interest for people that haven't played around with breakout rooms very much. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let me think if I can. Oh, not show that. All that. There we go. Here we go. There we go. All right. Ah, this is not going to work. I think I've got. I haven't got my settings on to show Zoom. I'll just try, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to see this.
Well, I think that also has to be enabled in the web settings
Yeah.
before you can set it locally.
Yeah, exactly. It does. Yeah. So yeah, you can't see the breakout room dialog box, right? Nope. Okay.
Well, we can see where
No.
it says Zoom Workplace and all that Zoom stuff,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
then
No,
there's
it's okay.
just black screen.
And I've got my A10 Mini out of the workflow at the moment, so I can't even show that. But anyway, this is basic stuff. All I'm doing is creating a breakout room, and I'm going to assign manually. I'm creating one breakout. I'm going to assign a couple of people. So if we put Muddy and let's put Jeffrey and David and Gina and Sarah. Okay, so it's all basically everyone that's not a co-host in here at the moment. So I'll send you in. You'll know very quickly if you start talking whether captions are working or not, or if you have to click the button again to enable it. So, all right, have fun. Let me make sure I've got it set to go. Let's remove and back and not count down. There we go. There they go. All right. Now we're still live streaming from this main room. So if you happen to be watching the recording, hello. And now we'll see, give them a couple of minutes. Jeffrey's talking, I can see. I also want to test, there was another report about breakout rooms reopening after they're being closed. And my suspicion on that is that it was for every co-host, when the breakout rooms are closed, the breakout room window dialog opens, whether you had it open or not. It's pretty annoying, isn't it, Justin? On every machine. Yeah.
Every machine. All the Zoom ISO machines and OSC, I'm like, let's go and close it.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the setting to say don't do it on those?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think my suspicion is that once it closed, that popped up, and one of many co-hosts was just like, how do I close this quickly, and hit open again?
Yep.
Right. And there isn't, I don't think there is no confirmation of reopening them.
There is not.
Happens. And so it seems like you're closing that window, but actually you're reopening the breakouts. So
same way, if I manually add a room, I always make the dialog way wider so that the buttons that I need to type in aren't right over the top of the open.
Yes.
Because I normally add a team room manually for all the co-hosts. I'm like, it's always my fear, like the add button and then where the dialog pops up to type in the rename, like it's right over the top of the open. Here we go. Muddy's going to report. Did you have captions, Muddy?
We had captions. No action was needed. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
You have the same experience, Justin?
Yeah, it still worked.
Justin stayed.
I stayed here.
With us, so.
Okay, cool.
We were just chatting about another.
Oh, we were all in one breakout room. I was like, Justin must be in the other breakout room.
Yeah, we just stayed in the main. I left the co-hosts and me in the main room, so just so there wasn't anything fancy going on. So I would think that the experience that those particular attendees were having is probably an older version of Zoom, and so on. Did anyone have anything?
We also learned something new that Gina Maria will teach us.
Okay, yeah, go. What'd you find?
Oh, you're muted.
Transcripts.
Transcripts, yeah.
And and move them around. If they're in the way. That's pretty new. I haven't seen it.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if you put your cursor over the captions, it turns into a little hand and you can grab it and move the captions.
Of course, I was saying transcription because I'm the interpreter.
It is transcription. That's right. Yeah. It's not manually. It's not a manual captioner.
You can move them. You can also make them wider left or right. You can't make them taller, but you can make them wider left or right if you put your cursor over either edge.
Oh yeah.
You can also change the color.
How do you change the color?
Where you click on hide captions or show captions, the up arrow, caption settings, and then there's the caption color and the
Oh yes. Well, caption language, it says caption settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
All right. There you go. Very cool.
Look at that. Deep dive into captions.
Question.
And you can change the font size.
That's right.
Yeah. So settings is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. Small to large.
We're learning so much about captions.
It's a good thing to be able to know this and have the answers for the people that need them.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's very inclusive.
Yep. Yeah, and the automatic the automatic captions is live captioning is actually pretty good. It's getting better and better all the time, So
it really depends on the topic, because if you're in meetings with people's names, it can really massacre them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so even with me who has no accent, it's working well. And then all of you people that have accents,
there you go.
Well, I only hear a New Mexico accent there. The Spanish
right.
twist to it.
I'm from Wisconsin. Hello.
Okay. Oh, that's what it was.
I'm the one that really has no accent. I'm the one you hear on TV all the time.
So the other report was about the breakout rooms opening again, and there was this particular report that came through that there was a problem every time they closed the breakout rooms, they would reopen. And my suspicion is that a co-host who is not familiar with the breakout rooms dialogue box opening, trying to get rid of that window, is just hitting the only big blue button at the bottom, which says open all rooms. So there's not a close or dismiss or cancel or anything on that window. You have to just hit depending on Mac or PC, whether it's left or right, you've got to do an X to just close that window. But if you are not thinking about that and you're just wanting to get rid of that window, you would likely be opening the room and opening all the rooms again. And if you were to ask all of your co-hosts, hey, did you reopen the rooms? They would likely say no, even though they may have. And so,
Brent, how do you open a breakout room? Where do you go for that?
Yeah, it's just as a co-host, a host or a co-host, you'll see breakout rooms down the bottom.
I'm looking.
I'm good. You won't see it because you're not a co-host.
Oh,
but do you know what?
Excuse me. Right.
do you know what, Jeffrey? I'm going to make the very dangerous decision of making you a co-host.
Oh my, that's definitely dangerous. Okay.
And so if this whole meeting ends and we all just go away, it was Jeffrey's fault. No. So you should now see it. If you look down the bottom, you might have to go to more, depending on how wide your screen is.
Okay, I'll look at more. And it says breakout rooms.
Very
cool.
Yeah. So if you click,
very cool.
You click on that, and then you might actually see that you'll see the existing.
And then whenever you do, don't hit the existing.
Okay, I'm not going to touch anything. Don't worry. Okay.
Oh, and he dropped off. Like what?
Did he leave the meeting for
he
his gag?
Did.
That's commitment.
What? Yeah, nice.
That was commitment, buddy. I was like, it wasn't not just muting your camera and video, like it was leaving the meeting. You were that committed to the gag. I appreciate that. Bravo. So Jeffrey, you would see the dialogue box that says there, the window that says that room 1 and the names of the people that were in that room.
Right.
And so that was created. If you hit recreate, then you see the options that you have for making breakout rooms.
Yeah, so I haven't clicked anything because
you can
didn't want to do it.
Play with it. Kick us all out.
It's all
right.
Okay, I'm clicking it. Oh, I see. It's got the room 1 with the names. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And
open
if you
all rooms. Okay.
And if you hit recreate at the bottom, then you'll see that's just the first option that you have for the different types of breakout rooms that you can create.
Now, if you have a group, whatever size it is, but let's say it's just 100 people, and you want to do breakout rooms, does it automatically sort of put people in, and then do you have a selection of how many people you would have in each?
All of that. Yep. So you can step through it. We can do it without actually opening them, right? So if you hit recreate,
you want me to do that? Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to
and then
oh, wait a minute. It's not there anymore. Okay. Oh, breakout rooms there. Okay, got that. Right.
Yep.
Okay. Hit recreate. Okay, I'm doing it. All right.
And then
it says,
hit assign automatically.
Right. Assign manually.
Right.
Assign. Okay, got it. Yeah, there.
Right. And so now that option is saying
three to four participants per room.
There you go. So depending on how many, you've got that little count up button there that you can create how many breakout rooms you want to create.
Right.
So if you start turning that up and down, it's going to tell you roughly how many people will be in each room. So if you have 100 participants, you can have up to 100 breakout rooms in your meeting, right? No more. And so what that means is that you can do with 100 people, then you could do any combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, people per room. So you might want to make 20 rooms and have about 5 people, which is a pretty good number generally for breakout rooms.
Right.
Giving an allowance for some people who are not wanting to be involved in breakout rooms. You still want to have, sort of 3 or 4 people that are going to be involved. And so that's the best way to do it. But
and then
setting
when we've done that with Blue and Barry, and it gives you a notice that you've got like 60 seconds more. Does that automatically happen, or how do you set that up? So
it doesn't. So there's down in the bottom left, there's a gear icon that gives you some options.
Okay, right.
And so that is where in the bottom ones there, it says auto close the breakout room after a certain amount of time. And it also says countdown after closing. And so what that will do, it's good to have a minute, so that you don't cut people off mid sentence. But you give them, a minute or so to wrap up, or 30 seconds. You can choose how much time you're going to give them.
Right.
So that they're being alerted to the fact that it's closing. And if everyone's ready, they can move then during that countdown time, or once it counts down to 0, then it will move them automatically back to the main room. So
okay, right, very cool. So you can set the minutes. Yeah.
Yep. Breakout rooms are very powerful, and I think are a really defining difference of doing events online versus in person, where often you are limited to the people that are sitting directly around you. When you do breakout rooms like this, they're totally random, or they can be, predetermined. You can manually assign people into breakout rooms, and so there's a lot of power there. I highly encourage people to use breakout rooms during their events.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Good. No problems. Is there any other questions, Heather?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Hey,
Hi.
Amy. Did you have a question, Amy? Are you just hanging out? Nice.
I don't think she heard you.
Yeah, she did. She wrote in the chat.
I'm sorry, my captions were in the way. Whoops.
She's saving her voice. We were playing around with captions and testing a report that they weren't quite working properly, but we managed to get them to work. So it's one of the things we were testing.
I do have one quick question.
Oh, now it's come up. Yep.
I heard rumor that the the statistics on the Obvio broadcasts are not accurate. Is that true, or to what level can we believe them?
So when you have looked at those stats, do they seem out of whack to you?
One of them seemed like I had 130% open rate. I thought that was amazing.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Yes, something's not quite right. And so we're still we're still just tweaking that a little bit. Actually, Justin, now that you're aware that we have email statistics, you could make a note to just see where we're at with seeing why those numbers are a bit whacked. I think we might be over calculating, or something's happening there. So it'd be nice to follow up on that. Yes. So take it as a indication that what they should be is relative to each other. And so when you compare it to another broadcast, the stats should actually be, if it's calculating the way that I think it is, it's calculating it incorrectly, but consistently incorrect. So
consistency is key. I like that.
Oh,
that's right.
That's not helpful.
That's right. So yes, we're looking into that. It was a
and I thought it was just inspirational calculations. That's all.
Yes, and that's a particular feature that is very difficult to test before putting it on the production servers, on the main servers, and so that's why it's kind of being tested live in a way. So. But yes, thank you. It's good to hear another specific example of 130% open rate. One of the things will be about seeing when people open the email multiple times, how that is being counted. And so we just have to look into some of those things. Great. Email stats are very tricky. So.
Do you think this email was good the first time? You should open it again and again and again.
It only gets better each time you read it. Very good. Hello, John.
Hello. Sorry, I couldn't be here earlier. I'm glad to be here now. It's tough coming in halfway through the program because I really want to understand this email conversation you were just having, and I only got the last 2 minutes of.
Oh, good. Yeah,
trust me, it was the most exciting conversation of the day.
Have you covered the change in Obvio or Obi, I guess? Because I logged in the other day and all of a sudden I got default profiles and created a new profile, and my default profile didn't give me what I had put together before. Has since been fixed. Thank you. But I'm not certain I understand the whole shift and why that. And is it going to stay that way, or is it going to continue?
So let me just say it is confusing, and I totally understand how confusing it is. Obi is a feature in Leap only, and is a Leap feature, and it's not an Obvio general feature. And these calls are specifically about Obvio and not just about Leap features. So and to that point, I don't even work on Obi things. It's very specifically just for Leap. And so you would need to be raising that in some of the Leap specific calls that you have, rather than this, which is just an Obvio So and I really do understand that it does get confusing, particularly when Obi and Obvio are so similar in names. So I can't answer that for you. I'm sorry, but the email that what we were talking about was email statistics. So in the broadcast feature, we now have a little button that you can hit to get statistics about how the open rate of the email and if there was bounces and things like that. But it's very beta at the moment, but it's beta in the way that it is live. And so we're just testing that out. We have to use it really on the live server to be able to test those features. So we're trying to get some better statistics about the email broadcasts. So that's all we were.
Well, so I think I'm learning something new here. Like I wasn't even familiar with an email broadcast feature in Obvio.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's interesting that we tend to have questions. I feel like we're not communicating well about it. But there are a few videos that we have specifically about broadcast, but I'll just show you quickly here. And I think Heather, all of Leap have broadcast turned on by default now. Is that your understanding?
I'm not 100% sure, but I just looked at John, I just looked at your account and it looks like we added that in Marketplace on a Q&A call in the past. So you do have it. You just probably haven't played around with it at the moment.
Right. And I appreciate having it, but didn't really know that I had it. So
there you go. Yep. They're the best they're the best type of tools. They're the ones that you find under all the other tools. You're like, oh, hang on, I didn't even know I had this. So
yes. So I'm a Keep user.
Yep. Okay.
So when would it make sense to use this broadcast feature instead of the Keep broadcast feature?
Yeah, when you're not using Keep, and that may never be, right? So really what we have is we have some overlap in where we position Obvio and its feature set. There is overlap with other systems. So Obvio can run your event, can send all of the communications, emails, and text messages directly from Obvio. But that's not managing a list, right? That's not keeping a history of the relationship that you've had, the customer relationship management of something like Keep. But for some people, when they're just starting out, they don't really have a list. They just need to run a few events and then they can move into a CRM later. And so that's why we just built out a simple way to be able to send emails out, particularly the login URL, right? You want to get that to people so they can join the dashboard as easily as possible. And so that's why we have that. For you, you may wish to just continue to do that in Keep because you want a history. You want to be able to go to Grant's profile as a customer and you can see that he came to event A and then he went to event B 3 months later and then he went to a product page and bought something and bought a digital download and you can see that history. And we sent them this email and Keep is tracking that and Keep is saying that you opened that. I don't need to tell you what Keep does, right?
Right.
But obviously it's the difference as to whether you want to be able to track all of that. And you likely do. So you just continue to do that and Keep. Occasionally you might just want to send a notification out and you don't care whether you're tracking that back in Keep or not. For example, it's now day 2 and you just want to send a simple day 2 announcement. We're starting in 30 minutes.
Reminders.
Here's your dashboard link. Arguably you can do that in Keep as well. but it just depends on how you wanted to do it. But you can simply do it in Obvio, and send that and schedule those out, and then send it up. And so I won't go into every detail, but I'll just show you quickly how it works. So for example, I think I sent one. Yeah, have a look at. I'll just show you what it looked like. I had a name for the broadcast, just an internal name, the time that it was sent out, and this is always in the event time zone that is set in the event settings. And then it just went to everyone. There's an email. You set up who the reply to is. So it was just coming back to me. And then you can do some merge fields. So hi, first name, some details about it. Click here for the dashboard. And that's just a login URL that is a. Oops.
Don't leave there
Yep.
yet. I'm just like, where is the list of people that you're sending that to?
Yeah, so that was sending to all, which is all of your attendees. So
Okay.
all of the attendees that have been, just jump off there for a second, that have come across, and likely from Keep, they've come across into Obvio. And so when you're setting up your broadcast, you're choosing who is it going to, right? So
Okay.
One advantage here is that you could say not checked in users. Now, a checked in user is someone who has not yet gone to the dashboard at all. The first time that someone clicks the dashboard link, goes to the dashboard, it logs them as checked in. And so you can create a whole separate email that says, hey, we're an hour into the first session and we're missing you. Just wanted to make sure you knew this. We're on, we've started, come and join us. That type of thing.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because would I even know who not checked in users are, or even checked in users? I don't know that I know that in Keep.
Yeah, so you can you can link back to get tags pushed back.
And are we like using Zapier or something like that?
No. I always get a little confused when I when I compare. So here, when you're looking at the Keep integration with the Obvio event, you've got a couple of tags here that are preset. So the Obvio created is the attendee created has been created in Obvio, and so now this tag, this name will be created in Keep to show that it's been created in Obvio.
Okay.
And then the next one is here, attendee checked in. So now the attendee has gone to the dashboard. When they go to the dashboard for the first time, it will update in Keep with that tag to say that they are checked in. So you can achieve that same idea and schedule in Keep, schedule a broadcast which is sending out to people who do not have that tag. So they have not yet. So they have the created tag.
Don't have that tag. Yeah. Okay.
But they don't have the checked in tag. Yeah. And now you can set that up. So, and this is, one of those advantages when you are using a CRM, which has a lot of automation, techniques that you can use, is that you can also reuse all of those, right? And so then you've created it once, and now you copy and paste into multiple events and set up all those schedules and do it once. So Obvio is never going to try to be a CRM. That's not what we're about, right? We're about running online events and being a home for that event for before, during, and after the event. So then it's like a temporary membership site is really what Obvio is like. So, yep.
Okay, so in Keep, obviously sequences are the key. Are we setting those sequences up in Obvio as well? Is Obvio capable of doing sequences?
Not really, as in not an advanced process of saying, if this happens, then do this and that sort of thing. It's not designed in that same way. There are ways of filtering, and so even when you do a broadcast, you can go into a more advanced setting and do tag and group based filtering. So you can set up a filter for a scheduled broadcast that is saying only send to people with this tag in Obvio. And so you can, in a way, create a sequence by using tags, but it's not, it hasn't got the ability to then tag, based on those sorts of the result and those sorts of things. So that's we're trying to give basic functionality ultimately for someone to then move to a CRM and do it and do the rest of, kind of take off then. But if the runway is just being able to send a broadcast out, then you can do that in Obvio.
Yeah, it might be the quick way. I mean, I think time will tell how I decide to use it. But I mean, it's interesting to see that you have that feature, and I guess I really never caught it before. Like you have Zoom available in Obvio, but Muddy helped me understand, like, when do you, like, I have Zoom also, right? And I don't want to get rid of that because I'm going to use it for other things. But when it comes to the live event, I've got this platform that I can work with. So, that's
100%.
really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I say, my next open questions are really around Obi. Because because Obi's in Obvio.
and that's where the confusion is. I totally understand. But it's a Leap only feature. And so it's only for people that are in Leap. And there are other people that use Obvio other than people that are in Leap, right?
Okay, fair enough.
So then these calls that are once a week are just for Obvio broadly, and not specifically Leap related functions. So
one last question, and I know Muddy's got his hand up. Did you send out a reminder email today on this event?
There wasn't one.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
No. We need to refine that system a little bit more. So it was missed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I just went looking for it and I couldn't find it. I obviously I found how to get here, but
yes. Yeah, we'll look into that because I think some people really rely on that as the last minute reminder. So
well, it's just got the link right there. So
yeah. The nice thing is that link hasn't changed from the moment that you first got it. It's the same link, and so you can pull up as you probably did.
Bookmarked. Now it's bookmarked. But before today, I didn't really need it bookmarked because it was always in that email.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool.
So before we move to Muddy, I do want to cover one thing related to broadcast of where, John, even if you have Keep, you might still use it. If you haven't set up the ability in Keep to do all the text messaging, Obvio gives you that ability with broadcast to also do text messaging. Or if people have systems, like I've got clients that have some of the CRMs, but they don't have text messaging in them. And so they fall back to the Obvio broadcast for all the text message reminders.
Yeah, my Keep system, I had it since 2018. So there are many contacts in my Keep system that do not have a phone number.
Yep,
because we didn't need it.
You have to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just as a quick reminder, the text messages do cost a little. It's like $1 per text message plus a small couple pennies for each person that gets a message. Which, if you're running an event and you want people there and you're selling something, it's a small thing to increase your show up rate, because we know text messages do increase show up rate by quite a bit.
So it's $1 for the text message, and then there's 10 cents a person, for example. And if you send it to 10 people, it's going to cost you $2.
2 cents a person in the US, 10 cents a person outside the US.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty nominal.
Pretty nominal. Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
on to
then,
Muddy.
sorry. Oh,
go ahead, Heather.
No, just before we totally go to Muddy and get off the broadcast question, Jeffrey just posted something, wants to know if there was a plan for having the capability of doing like branded broadcasts in the future.
As in sponsored?
You know how we don't have any way to like make them more unique or put like our logos on the email, like the broadcast emails. I mean, we can put our logos, but like there's not too much that we can do.
Yeah,
I mean, one thing, after I put that in, I looked up and I had sent a welcome email to myself to test it on Saturday, and I had put an image in there. So, that's probably good enough. You can put sort of an event image or a logo. So, I mean, that sort of satisfies me. But then actually, while we're on it, I did then just play around and try to send myself another welcome email, and it didn't work. I tried several times. I've checked and I've got myself as an attendee in there, put my email, but it's not coming through to my email because I'm looking at it on another screen. So why would that be? Why would it not go through now?
So you're talking specifically about the welcome email, not the broadcast, right?
Correct. The welcome email, right? Yeah.
The welcome email gets sent once upon creation of the attendee, as the name suggests. It's welcoming.
Okay.
It's welcoming the person once the attendee is created. So if you had your attendee created before and then you enable the welcome email, they wouldn't get it. It doesn't send to people that have already been created. It's only sending to people that have been created since the welcome email was enabled. And the design of that is specifically for handling the last minute registrations that might happen in your system. Or you may not even have a system and you've literally just got someone manually entering them into Obvio. It then just triggers off that welcome email and gives them their login link. So that's what a welcome email is, distinct from a broadcast, which is scheduled.
Okay, so I would have to put a broadcast email after the welcome. That would be the thing.
Correct.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. It sounds like you've thought this through.
We've thought about it.
Okay. Would I be able to do the same thing on a broadcast where I'm presuming, so I'm now looking at upload an image from your computer. So I'd be able to put in something that could be called.
Oh yeah, all branded to yours. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
What Heather was getting at is the fact that the size of the email and kind of the window that it's set in is not changeable, right? And so those that kind of that gray background thing that is all there, that's not changeable at this point. But everything within that box is changeable, and you can add as many images as you like, and you can brand that however you wish. But yeah, it's just a limitation within that email setup. So, but yeah, you can totally make it your own. Change the fonts and colors and all of that. So,
okay.
Yep.
Now, if I look at like the history, would I be able to resend a broadcast on that?
Yeah. So, a couple of things there, right? So you can send a test email. And so if you just needed to trigger off an email again to a person, so a perfect use case of this is that you've just realized that an email address is entered incorrectly. It's got a typo in it, and the email's already been sent. So you could pick that up. You can go into attendees, fix the typo, go back to broadcasts, and what is a little bit of a hidden feature that I'm proud of is if you send a test email to a person, so see how I'm going back to an email that's already been sent, a broadcast.
Right.
I can go here. I can say send a test, and I can put in an email. Now, and I hit send test. If that email address exists as an attendee, then it will send them their data.
Right. Okay.
Okay. If you put a test email address in there that is not an attendee, the system will create dummy data, demo data in any of those fields that use merge fields. So, for example, the login URL, it doesn't have an attendee data to use. It can't send you to the dashboard because it doesn't that email doesn't exist.
Right.
And so it'll just put a random URL in there as just a test. So, but that test email function kind of doubles up as a send a one-off again. And so it's quite handy for that. You can just trigger that off again. Now, another part of what you're talking about is the ability to recreate and to duplicate a broadcast, which is also an option you might have seen. So if I took that same one, I can then say duplicate. Has now copied all the data over, and it just added this new line. And now I can edit that, and it's got all this in there ready, and I can just change it as I need, schedule it for the new date, whatever I need, and save, and I'm done.
Right. Get that. Very cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the things I was talking about before, that this is all things that you can do weeks before your event even begins, so yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Marty.
A couple quick things on broadcasts that we're talking about. One important note is that the Obvio system, because it is designed to send emails that are directly related to your event, it's limited to sending 3 emails per day of the event. And day of the event means between the start date and the end date. And then 1 email before that start date, 1 email after that end date can be sent through Obvio. And since we did a bit of a deep dive into segments, it's really that limitation is 3 emails per person per day. So it is possible if you segment your email and send an email to people who have not checked in and an email to people who have checked in, even though those are 2 emails that went out, they're going to different segments. So it's only 1 email per person for each of those. So theoretically, you could have more than 3 emails scheduled per day if they weren't going to the entire audience. But generally, I like to think of it as a general rule of 3 emails per day through the Obvio system. That's one note. Another note, and Dr. Amy put a comment in the chat earlier. We had an interesting issue pop up. Her credit card on file had expired between last month's webinar and this month's webinar. And 10 minutes before the event, just as I'm going to open the area, it sent a broadcast saying, hey, the doors are open, come and join us. But the card was on file, was expired. And so we got this error message that we couldn't do anything in the account. And, it was $1.25 that could have, and that almost prevented us from running the event. We couldn't get the doors open, and luckily she was able to jump in and update her card, and she saved the day, and it worked fine. But that's not what you would want your host to be scrambling to do, as the countdown timer is counting down to start time. So just be aware that because it's paid, you have to have current card on file. And then I do have just a quick 1 minute update for John related to Obi. I know we're not going deep into Obi. I think Blue has talked about Obi on these calls when he was here before, but I know it's not our focus. But he talked about in a recent Leap call that his intention was to update Obi to allow you to have profiles. So rather than just having different versions that have these different little pillboxes to say, different right fit clients, that his vision, and it looks like that's a step closer, is to have different profiles. So you can set a profile, and then that kind of propagates all the way through that whole block. And then I also did hear him say that for Content Lab or Content Mastery Day next week, he's planning to reveal kind of the next block and talk more about Obi. So I think we'll hear more about it next Tuesday in Leap.
Well, you just obviously sparked another question. I mean, so is a new profile, can I look at that similar to a revised avatar, revised right fit client?
I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know also some people have identified this week that some of the last steps of Lead Magnet have kind of disappeared. So, and Blue commented that there are some bugs right now having to do with visibility. So I would be a little cautious. It's in very active development right now. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be a little cautious about spending too much time or drilling in before Tuesday, because I think he's really gearing up to try and get that ready for Tuesday. So there may be a lot of changes between now and Tuesday. I wouldn't want you to lose any work. So
okay, thank you.
I have no other inside knowledge about it. That's just mine. Looks like Justin.
Luckily enough, it is all saved. And so some of the bugs that Muddy alluded to are just things not showing when they're supposed to show. But as far as the data being behind the scenes, the data is actually there. And so all those should be worked out already for that. I'm sure Blue will talk more about profiles on our next big Leap call that's next Tuesday. But you're on the right track, John. It could be avatars. It could be I have a separate business, 2 businesses, and I want to have separate setups through the whole thing. I could have one event with multiple people I'm sending things to through. So that it's just a way to segment.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Muddy. Justin. All right. Are there any other questions? Any other business? Yes. Gina Maria.
I was saying, I think I've been in 6 hours of Zoom meetings today, and I'm ready to
Only
check
6.
out. Yeah, no, and I have 3 left, so.
Fair enough.
These days are horrible.
Very good.
So,
well, motion to adjourn.
Till the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I second the motion. Thank you, everyone. We will call it there. We can do it all again next week. Have a little think of your questions, and we'll see you at 5 p.m. Eastern next week. We'll see if we can even send a reminder to make it easy. So, there you go.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Guys. Take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.